Welcome back to Learn with Professor Janula. If you're a nursing student, this channel is just for you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Today, we are learning about formation of the placenta. So go ahead, subscribe, and let's get started. Students, now let us understand what the placenta is. The placenta is a temporary organ that develops only during pregnancy. It connects the baby to the mother's uterus through the umbilical cord. Its main function is to supply oxygen and nutrients to the baby and remove waste products like carbon dioxide from the baby's blood. The placenta also produces important hormones such as progesterone and estrogen, which help maintain pregnancy and support the baby's growth. So in simple terms, the placenta acts as a lifeline between the mother and the baby by providing nutrition, oxygen, waste removal, and hormones needed for a healthy pregnancy. Now let us understand the first two stages of placental development. The first stage is fertilization, which occurs on day 0. Fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube, where the sperm meets the ovum. When they unite, they form a single cell called the zygote. This is the first cell of the new baby. The second stage is cleavage, which occurs from day 1 to day 3. During this stage, the zygote begins to divide repeatedly. These divisions increase the number of cells, but the overall size remains the same. By the end of the stage, the embryo forms a solid ball of about 16 to 32 cells called the morula. So remember, fertilization forms the zygote and cleavage changes the zygote into a morula through repeated cell division. Now let us move to the third stage of placental development, which is blastocyst formation. This stage occurs between day 4 and day 5. During this stage, the morula changes into a blastocyst, which is a hollow ball of cells. The blastocyst has two important parts. The first part is the inner cell mass. This group of cells develops into the embryo, which later grows into the baby. The second part is the trophoblast. This is the outer layer of cells, and it develops into the placenta, which supports and nourishes the growing baby throughout pregnancy. So, remember this simple point. The inner cell mass forms the baby, and the trophoblast forms the placenta. This is an important concept and is commonly asked in nursing examinations. Now, let us discuss the fourth stage of placental development, called implantation. This stage occurs between day 6 and day 10 after fertilization. During the stage, the blastocyst reaches the uterus and attaches to the uterine lining, also called the endometrium. Next, the trophoblast, which is the outer layer of the blastocyst, invades the uterine wall. This helps the blastocyst become firmly attached and receive nutrients from the mother. Implantation is a very important step because pregnancy begins only after successful implantation. The trophoblast later develops into the placenta, which nourishes and supports the growing baby throughout pregnancy. Remember, implantation equals attachment of the blastocyst to the uterus and the beginning of placental development. After implantation, the trophoblast divides into two layers. The first layer is called the cytotrophoblast. It is the inner layer. Its cells continue to divide and produce new cells. These cells help in the growth and development of the placenta. The second layer is called the syncytiotropoblast. It is the outer layer. It grows into the lining of the uterus and firmly attaches the embryo to the mother. It also forms small spaces that fill with the mother's blood, called lacunae. This is the beginning of the exchange of oxygen and nutrients between the mother and the baby. Next, we will see the formation of chorionic villi. Formation of chorionic villi begins during the 2nd and 3rd week of pregnancy. Chorionic villi are finger-like projections that help form the placenta. They increase the surface area for the exchange of oxygen and nutrients between the mother and the baby. There are 3 stages of villi development. The first stage is called primary villi. Primary villi are formed when the cytotrophoblast grows into the syncytiotrophoblast. At this stage, the villi are made only of trophoblast cells. The second stage is called secondary villi. In this stage, extraembryonic mesoderm grows into the center of the primary villi. This forms a supporting core and makes the villi stronger. The third stage is called tertiary villi. During this stage, fetal blood vessels develop inside the mesoderm of the secondary villi. Blood begins to circulate through these vessels. This allows the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste products between the mother and the baby. Formation of the placenta is completed by the 12th week of pregnancy. The placenta has 2 parts. The fetal part is called the chorion frondosome. It develops from the chorionic villi and is connected to the baby through the umbilical cord. The maternal part is called the decidua basalis. It develops from the lining of the uterus and provides support and blood supply to the placenta. By the 12th week, the placenta is fully formed and functions efficiently. It supplies oxygen and nutrients to the baby, removes waste products, and produces hormones that help maintain pregnancy. Remember this simple point. The fetal part is the chorion frondosome. The maternal part is the decidua basalis. Together, they form the placenta and support the growth of the baby throughout pregnancy. Now, we will see about placental circulation. Placental circulation is the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste products between the mother and the baby through the placenta. First, let us see maternal blood circulation. Maternal blood enters the placenta through the uterine arteries. It flows into the intervillous space and surrounds the chorionic villi. Here, oxygen and nutrients pass from the mother's blood to the baby. Now, let us see fetal blood circulation. The baby's blood reaches the placenta through 2 umbilical arteries. Inside the chorionic villi, it receives oxygen and nutrients from the mother's blood. The oxygen-rich blood then returns to the baby through 1 umbilical vein. An important point to remember is that the mother's blood and the baby's blood do not normally mix. They remain separate, and the exchange takes place across the placental membrane. Remember this simple rule? 2 umbilical arteries carry deoxygenated blood from the baby to the placenta. 1 umbilical vein carries oxygenated blood from the placenta back to the baby. Now let us look at the factors that affect placental development. The first factor is maternal nutrition. A healthy and balanced diet helps the placenta grow properly and supports the baby's development. The second factor is smoking. Smoking reduces the oxygen supply to the baby and can affect placental growth and function. The third factor is alcohol. Drinking alcohol during pregnancy can interfere with normal placental development and may harm the baby. The fourth factor is drug abuse. Harmful drugs can damage the placenta and reduce the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. The fifth factor is maternal diseases, such as hypertension and diabetes. These conditions can reduce blood flow to the placenta and increase the risk of pregnancy complications. The final factor is infections. Certain infections can damage the placenta and affect the health and growth of the baby. Remember the simple point? Good nutrition supports a healthy placenta, while smoking, alcohol, drug abuse, maternal diseases, and infections can affect placental development and fetal growth. Before we finish, let us quickly revise the important exam points. The placenta begins to develop soon after implantation. The trophoblast is the tissue that forms the placenta. By the 12th week of pregnancy, the placenta is fully developed and functions effectively. The placenta has two parts. The fetal part is called the chorion frondosum, and the maternal part is called the decidua basalis. The umbilical cord contains 3 blood vessels. It has 2 umbilical arteries that carry deoxygenated blood from the baby to the placenta and 1 umbilical vein that carries oxygenated blood back to the baby. Finally, remember that the mother's blood and the baby's blood do not normally mix. They remain separate, and the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste products takes place through the placental membrane. These are the key points that are commonly asked in nursing examinations, so make sure you remember them well.
That's the end of this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more nursing learning videos. Thank you for watching, and keep learning.